Hello friends, Charlie Murphy here. Thank you for choosing my video. Today I'm playing a session of 1-2 no limit on ignition. Upper left hand table button opened standard 2.5x. I 3-bet and then called a small 4-bet. Got a great flop for the sevens, middle set 8-7-5. He checks back the flop. Given that he checked, I'm going to go ahead and probe the turn with my set on that coordinated board. Probe small, about a quarter of the pot. Planning to jam the river. Table 2, I called the min-raise blind on blind from a rec. Get a queen 9-3 two-tone board with the pocket sevens. I'm going to go ahead and stab small, mostly checking back turns. Great card for me on the upper left-hand table, and that ace-king might have floated me. I'm going to go ahead and stick the rest in and hope that he did. Table 2 got check call. There's a board pairing queen. Go ahead and check back my sevens. Now he leads into me. I'm going to go ahead and call that down because he's a recreational player. Try to snap off busted straight or flush draws. I mean, anything that had showdown value on the flop, including ace highs, are ahead of me, but I'm still going to call against a rec. And there's the straight draw. We are good. Table 1 got a min raise from a half-stack recreational player and what's temporarily a heads-up pot. I will defend that for a call and check on the flop. And I was against ace-king in that 4-bet pot, so that was a brilliant river for me. Flop check through on table 1 on ace 8-4 rainbow. Turn is a 5, giving me a gut shot. I'm going to go ahead and probe the turn and plan to follow through on the river, whether I hit or miss. For value if I have a 4 straight, and there's a bluff if I have 10 high. I suppose if I turn a pair, it gets a little bit questionable. Still heads up temporarily on table 1, and we'll open ace-king against the recreational player. He comes along for a call. Get a queen 8-7 two-tone board. He leads into me small, about 40% of pot. I was going to go ahead and put in a small bet. I'm going to float with my overcards and backdoor Broadway draw here. Probably not calling too much more. I guess small bets I can continue looking to get the showdown with my ace-king high. Against the check, I'm content to check here. I thought I fold out too many pairs, like 7s or 8s. 7x, 8x rather, as at least the pocket pairs are never folding. I think I want to start using weaker hands with no showdown value as the bluffs on the turn. I'm just going to keep this pot small with ace-king high. It's a pretty clean river for me, too. The deuce shouldn't really help him, so if I was good all along, I should still be good the vast majority of the time. He reopens the river for about 2/3 pot. Got a paired board, you know, that deuce doesn't scare me. Ace-king high is pretty strong. That's a pretty bluffy line from the fish and a broken aggression donk line. I am calling this down. Yeah, pocket 3's got thin value. What are you going to do? I still think my call is what I want to be doing there. I will not sleep well tonight if I do not call down with ace-king there. Table 2, I opened ace-king from, guess what was the cutoff? A short-stacked fishy player, about 30 blinds, 3-bets me. I think there's nothing else to do here but just jam him all in. No sense in 4-betting small at that stack depth. Ace-king versus ace-king. Table 3, I've got 7-8 on the button. Kind of on the cusp of an open, but this guy's been pretty nitty and passive so far. I'm going to go ahead and get slightly out of line and open that. Table 4, opening ace-jack from the cutoff. Get 3-bet by the player that I just got done saying was nitty. He must have heard me. Now, of course, be folding 8-7 to the 3-bet. Table 4, the fish calls me from the small blind. Getting 9-8-4 two-tone board. A board like this, these low boards, I'm not going to just range bet small. I'm going to use a little bit bigger bet, more like half pot. And I think a hand like ace-jack, ace-queen, ace-king has some showdown value. So I'm going to go ahead and check that one back and take the turn for free. If it was weak ace-x, you know, or just total airballs, I would be betting them. He checks, deuce of diamonds. I think I just want to keep moving this towards showdown here. Table 3, opening king 10 suited from middle position. He bets. He sizes up pretty close to pot. I'm really not all that strong. I think I'm just going to go ahead and lay this one down. He bets a little smaller, like half pot or 2/3. I think I hero call. Table 1, get a new player playing 35 blinds deep who open limps the button. We're going to go ahead and put a recreational player tag on him. The small blind tries to isolate him, but when I've got ace-king, that's not going to be the way it goes, so I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet him there. Table 2, opening queen 8 suited for middle position. The limper folds out. The small blind player calls. Get a low board, 10-5 deuce rainbow. I am going to go ahead and continuation, but I'm going to use a slightly larger size, more like half pot here on that low board. If I pick up a jack, a queen, a king, or an ace, I can look to start shoving money in here real crazy. Turn is the 5. If I had something like pocket 10s, I'd be gladly checking back to trap. Aces make another great trap here, too, because they're pretty safe, and they also block, in some cases, the ace-5 suited combos. I think some of the other overpairs that are more vulnerable play a bit better as a bet, like jacks, queens, kings could go either way. Ace-king high, I'm going to check back, see if I can peel my showdown, peel my pair for top pair, top kicker, or keep the pot smaller for my ace-king high showdown value. I'm going to try to take my showdown here. I'm really not folding that too many pairs. I can beat ace-queen, ace-jack. Yeah. If I'm weaker, I just stuff it in there on the river. Ace-king high is enough showdown value. Just going to try to take the showdown. Or at least so I think. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe bluffing is better, but I think it's reasonable to show that one down. Ace-queen, small blind versus big blind, standard open on table 1. Table 1, I'll open Jack 8 from the button, especially with that 60 blind recreational player in the big blind. Table 1, we'll open 9-8 suited from the cutoff. Picking up hands on table 1 here, over and over. It's pretty nice. Getting under the gun, 2.5x open. I'm in the middle position with ace-queen. We'll go ahead and 3-bet that for sure. Probably not 3-betting ace-jack here, but ace-queen and ace-king, of course, are good enough. Table 3, have king 10 in middle position. I'll bring that one in. Half-stack recreational player calls from the big blind, checks to me on queen jack 3-2 tone. I'll go ahead and bet small. I have an open-ended straight draw here. Allow me to keep barreling on most turn cards. Table 1, blind on blind. I will open 10-9. Table 3, opening ace-4 suited under the gun. Big blind calls get a 10-7 deuce two-tone board and the blind battle on table one. I'm going to go ahead here and stab for half pot on that low board with my weakish top pair. Table 3 got called by 2 recreational blind players on 6 deuce deuce rainbow. I think I'm going to go ahead and put in a small bet on this one, try to pick it up now. I can keep barreling if I pick up gutter balls or flush draws or try to show down an ace. My bet doesn't work as they both call, and we get a no help on the 9 of spades, so I'll be checking back that turn. Table 4, opening ace-queen under the gun. Table 1, going to go ahead and check now with second pair and the gut shot on that jack of spades turn. Yeah, I get donk led into for pot, and the second player calls. I'll fold my ace-4 high easily right there. Table 2, a couple recreational players limp. I'll complete the small blind with ace-deuce and play a pot against some fish. Table 1, big blind, or table 4 rather, get a queen jack 8 rainbow board. The big blind calls and checks to me. I'm going to go ahead and bet that one out small. Table 1, he stabs about 2/3. I'm going to go ahead and call with my pair and my gut shot. Check to the river. Table 2, we now have a gut shot to Broadway on the Queen 10-7 king board. I'll go ahead and stab for half pot. Get check raise small over here on table 4. I've got top pair, top kicker, so I'm coming along. King 10 a little weak to call with. We do have a fish in the pot, so I'm going to come along, closing the action from the big blind. Now up here on table 2, going to go ahead and continue trying to bluff. I don't really love overbet bluffing wrecks when they're in position, so I'm going to go ahead and use a smaller size here. He continues barreling on that scary board in the tight formation. I'm going to go ahead and lay ace-queen down. A little tight, but I think it's okay. Didn't work. King called down. He was probably calling over bets as well. Who knows? Maybe he's more sensitive to that sizing. But in my experience, the fish are either calling or not calling for the most part, especially when they have position. More merit than overbet bluffing that spot if I'm trying to get a reg to fold. Table 2, opening king 9 suited from the button. Big blind comes along for a call. Table 4 can go ahead and just bluff for pot on that low double paired board. Not going to assume my jack high checks down good. Table 2, put a continuation bet on that ace 8 deuce deuce rainbow board. I've got overcards and a backdoor flush draw. Table 3, opening pocket 6s on the button. Table 1, get a 3x open from a 30 blind player on the button. I don't want to raise this hand and have to fold to a jam, so I'm going to be a lot happier just calling out of the big blind here. We'll do that and check the flop. Great flop, king 7 deuce rainbow. Table 4, going to 3-bet the 3x cutoff open from the button with ace 3 suited. Table 1 against the half pot bet. I'm just going to go ahead and check call. My top pair second kicker. Continue checking. Table 3, my pocket 6s faces a 3-bet from the big blind. A 4x 3-bet. I will call in position and take a flop. He continues barreling up there on table 1. I think they really just want to put it in now and don't let him check back the last third of a pot kind of situation. So I'm just go ahead and check it and put it in now. If he has aces, ace king, or 7x, more power to him. I'm putting it in now. Face a small bet on ace 8 deuce two-tone. I'm going to go ahead and float with the sixes, especially with the six of hearts, meaning that I have two outs to a clean nutty set of sixes as opposed to one. Table 4, going to open king 9 suited from middle position. He continues barreling. Table 4 on the ace 6-5 two-tone board. I can just go ahead and continuation bet small and pick up a lot of folds there against a wide range fish in position. Although he quickly calls, so I'm going to check that ace of spades. Table 3, I was going to start stabbing this and planning to check back fourth hearts and bluff off on brick rivers here. When he leads again, I'm just going to go ahead and fold out. We've got a 4-spade board over there on table 4. I'm going to go ahead and try to pick that up, reopen for a bluff on the river with the pot button. Table 4, get a min raise from this recreational player in the cutoff. I've got ace jack suited, going to go ahead and 3-bet out of my big blind. Table 4, open to ace 10 from the button. Get 3-bet by the recreational player who's been very loose and very passive, so I don't really think there's a lot of merit in doing too much with this hand except for folding. You know, I could use this as a 4-bet bluff in these formations against reasonably loose players. However, here I think the move is just going to be folding. Get a recreational player min raises on table 2. I'm in the button with ace 10. Gonna go ahead and put in the 3-bet against him here. Table 1, opening 9-7 suited from middle position. Recreational player calls in position. Get a Jack 6-6 rainbow board on table 1. Gonna go ahead and check this one multi-way. A little bit of backdoors. I could maybe pick up some auto folds. I think I'll just be a bit more cautious with 2 wrecks out there, though. GA bets large in a multi-way dry board. I'll just go ahead and fold my 9 high. Table 3, get a limp and then an isolation raise from a shorter stack player that I had tagged as a wreck. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet the button with King Jack suited. Table 2, opening Ace Jack under the gun. Get called by the wreck big blind on table deuce. Gonna go ahead and put in a small bet on King 8-7 two-tone. Get check raise, but check raise so small I feel obligated to float even with these fairly flimsy backdoors and the ace high overcard. looking to pick up really a 9, a 10, a jack, a queen, an ace, or even a club might allow me to continue. However, in the 7, when he keeps barreling 2/3, I'll just go ahead and fold. Table 4, getting min raise from middle position. A recreational player in the cutoff comes along for a call. I'm going to go ahead and put in my squeeze here with pocket 10s. In an ideal world, I force out the under the gun player and get to play heads up with the rec. Keep just trying to show down my pair of queens on this dangerous 4 straight board up there on table 1. Hold out the under the gun player, and I pick it up pre-flop. It's not a bad result either. Table 1, opening ace-4 suited, blind on blind. Table 2, so checked around, we now got a 4 flush. I'm just going to go ahead and try to pick that up with a bluff for pot. Okay, table 1, blind on blind, get a 10-4 deuce rainbow board. I think I'll just go ahead and check this one, plan to check call. I think I want to keep his unpaired ace-x in there. Don't want to risk folding any of them out, so I can pick up value with my aces and 4s if I hit an ace on the turn or river. He stabs about 75%. I'll check call with my pair of 4s top kicker. Turn is the 5. Gives me a gut shot to the low end there with that ace. He continues blasting. He's been so tight and so passive. I just don't know that I have too much showdown value here. Just don't think he's going to check the river that much, or that I'm going to check down good all that much, put it that way. I think I'll go ahead and make the fold here just because he's been so tight passive. It's probably theoretically, I'm almost certain it's theoretically correct to call there, but I think folding is okay based on the perception of nittiness and the flop size up. Table 3, get a cutoff player and about 1/3 of a stack open limping. I'll complete my small blind with this small suited gapper, 6-3 suited, try to get a cheap flop. Do have a gut shot there on the 8-4 deuce two-tone board. I guess it's not to the nuts in that the 5 also makes 6-7 for the 8 through 4 nut straight, but not that worried about it, especially against the shorter stacked rec. Turn is the 9 of diamonds. Nobody stabbed at the flop. I'm going to go ahead and just start betting my very weak piece of equity here, this gut shot. I think it's going to play a little better in the bet line to fold out stuff that beats me, either with the turn bet or a turn and river combo bet. Both players come along for the call. River is the 5. Interesting in that I now have the straight. I still lose to 6-7 or a flush, of course. I think I just want to go ahead and bet 2/3. I want to overbet and force these guys out of there with their weaker bullshit. I think a lot of weak nonsense will calm me down here against that size. Little bit safer run out. I'm going to go ahead and overbet, especially trying to get this guy to get too sticky. Could go either way, but I opted for the smaller 3/4 size instead. Fold him out. Yeah, if they're both folding the small bet, they're probably both folding the big bet too, so it probably didn't matter all that much. Table 3, the rec open limps middle position. We get a 3-bet by a player playing a little bit short. I've got King Jack offsuit. I was going to isolate him. I think this might be a little loose to 3-bet against an ISO raise, though, especially since that guy doesn't seem terribly out of line, and also terribly fishy, even though he's short. Table 1, opening King Jack from middle position. Recreational player calls me in position. I'm just going to go ahead and check that 8-5-4 rainbow board. If it checks through, I can start stabbing. I'm not on the 4 straight, I'll just keep checking. Bluff the river if I have... Well, with the pair of jacks, I think I'm just going to be better off just checking and showing down or snapping off against the bluff. I was planning to bluff that river if I didn't improve. A little loose to open 9-7 suited under the gun, but I got a table full of recreational players and nobody's been 3-betting, so let's get in there. Picked up the blinds. Not a bad result, all things considered. Table 3, opening 8s from the cutoff. Lost the recreational player in table 2 I had position on, but just noticing some guys that popped up in the last orbit or two have some limps and or short stacks. So we'll go ahead and tag them. This guy with the limp, he may have just been limping behind. I'm going to wait a bit more before I declare him to be a wreck. Table 1, blind on blind, 3x open. Easy defense for a call with Jack 10. Table 2 will check in against the wreck limper out of my big blind with ace deuce suited. Check fold on the king 6-5 two-tone board. I do have a backdoor flush draw. I think that that's really enough to float there against the 3/4 bet. Against a min bet, I think I would. Blind on blind, table 1. He bets half pot on king 7-3 two-tone. I've got no spades, so no real backdoor flush draws. Technically, I've got some backdoor straight draws, but I think that's pretty flimsy. I'll go ahead and float this. Gets closer if I have... I mean, I would have 3-bet Jack 10 of clubs for the most part, but if I somehow had that or I had Jack 10 with a single spade, I think I might float that instead. But even that's kind of pushing it. Jack 10 no spade, I'm pretty sure was supposed to be a fold. Table 2, going to open 8-7 from the button. Little loose, but I've got a player who's sort of passive in the big blind and a recreational player in the small blind, so nothing wrong with playing a few extra hands under those circumstances. King deuce suited for middle position is really awfully loose, but I've got a table full of recreational players, so I want to be in there. Table 1, going to open king queen from middle position. This guy had enough common sense to squeeze. First 3-bet as well, over 21 opportunities, 51 total hands. That's going to be the easiest fold ever. Still stand behind the open, trying to either, get in these pots with some of these recreational players with a suited king. That's going to be profitable. Table 1, the short-stacked recreational player calls and then leads into me for pot on 9-8-7 two-tone. I do have the king of clubs, but that's not enough to justify floating when there's so little money left behind, less than a pot size bet if I call, and all I've got is a backdoor flush draw to the 4 flush with the king, or I guess I could bang off the nut straight if it goes jack 10, but that's asking an awful lot. Just gonna fold. Table 4, opening king 4 suited from the cutoff. Whale of a recreational player comes along from the small blind. Big blind comes along as well. Hitty jack 7 rainbow board. I do have a backdoor flush draw. I think I'll just check that one back, though, reevaluate the turn. Table 3, a couple of players limp. I'm going to go ahead and isolate from the cutoff with ace-7. A little on the loose side, but I'm really not worried about these guys being strong players. Table 4, we get that turn ace. I'm just going to go ahead and keep checking back. Pretty decent turn and then river combo, and that the ace already beat me, and the king now draws ahead of any kind of pocket pairs, better king X, 7X type hands. Table 3, both limpers limp call on 10-9 deuce two-tone. Just go ahead and check back my ace-7. Now this player goes ahead and bets almost 2x pie. I'm just going to go ahead and fold my showdown value here. Thinking about stabbing. A little bit dicey with that short stack in there. I don't want to get myself pot stuck if he goes ahead and check jams. If we were deeper, I'd be stabbing at this point with my gut shot. Checks through again. And I get led into someone to fold. Was planning on turning that hand into a bluff against another check, and that check all the way down line. Table 4, my ace-4 suited for middle position, get 3-bet by the cutoff, and then the fishy player goes ahead and cold calls the 3-bet. This is not typically a call. In some cases, it would be a 4-bet, but I think given that it's a pretty good size, slightly smaller than 3x, and we have this guy in here juicing the pot off and making all kinds of post-flop mistakes, I'm taking a flop. 6-6-5 two-tone, but not the hearts, the spades, so this hand isn't too good. I'll be check folding here. Yeah, there's the bet, so I'll check fold out. But I think taking that flop is good there, and you've got that weak player coming along. Table deuce, couple of recreational players open limp. I'm going to go ahead and isolate from the button with king 8 on the loose side, but I think isolating players on the loose side when they're limping is really good business, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. First limper comes along and calls. The second one folds out. I get an ace-10-4 two-tone board. I will go ahead and put in a small bet and try to pick this up against his auto folds. He quickly calls. Turn is a king. Completes the Broadway straight if he's holding queen-jack, but it does give me some showdown value. I'm going to be content to go ahead and check this one back. And I river the 8 for 2 pair, even better. Table 1, open pocket 10s, blind down blind. He leads into me for half pot. I think this hand's a little too weak to raise for value, but I'm snapping off the bluff catcher all day long. Run into the nut straight, but what are you going to do? I think that hand is played all right. Maybe the pre-flop ISO's a little on the loose side, but I'm good with it. I'm going to do it again. Should I get the chance? Table 3, or table deuce, opening 10-7 suited from the cutoff. Table 4, opening queen-jack, blind down blind. Table 1 in the blind battle, ace-queen 7 two-tone. I'm going to go ahead and put in a small bet with 10s and then really just start checking after that. Long for a call. Turn is the 9. I'm going to go ahead and check that. River is the king. Now the question is, do I reopen this as a bluff with my blocker. I just don't think he's going to check down 7x very often at this point. So I think the move is actually going to be to go ahead and put in that bluff. Use the overbet size here, as I don't want to give him an easy call with a king X or a queen X type hand. Table 4, opening ace-5 from the cutoff. Table 2, opening king-queen from the button. Tanking side, at least put him to a decision, which I think is good. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It does work. What do you know? Table 4, opening queen-jack from middle position. Get 3-bet in position and just go ahead and fold that one. Table 4 is not looking so hot anymore either, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of there. It's really all about the whale that was in the 5 seat. Now that he's gone, I'm gone too. Table 2, however, still looks nice and juicy. I'll open ace-5 suited from middle position. Get 3-bet in position and then cold called by the recreational player. Now this would often be a 4-bet. Question is, do I really want to be 4-bet bluffing with the rec out there? Yeah, I think I do. Table 2, going to open 7s under the gun. Called by recreational players both in position and from the small blind. Let me see if the big blind lets us get to the flop or not. He does by calling, so we go 4-way. Flop 9-5-5. I think the 7s really benefit from a bet here, and then I can fold out lots of overcards with equity. Trying to just check this down unimproved against all those players is probably asking too much, but it's still reasonably strong here. They can largely have missed. I get called in position and then check raised on the smaller side by a recreational player that's short, so my flop bet in no way worked out. But I think it's good that I can pick up the pot a decent bit. I'll fold against the check raise, though. I just don't think he's doing any weaker than 9x, at least not frequently. Table 3, opening pocket 6s under the gun. Get called in position and by the big blind, get an ace-4-3 rainbow board. Similar concept as with the 7s, was planning to bet. Now that I get led into, however, I think it's a little bit dicier. Go ahead and fold this. Was planning to bet the flop, try to pick that up. However, when he starts leading, he could be doing that with a weaker, but he could also have a ton of ace-x in his range there. And I've also got to worry about the player sandwich behind me to some extent, so I think it's going to be better to err on the side of caution and fold. Or heads up, I would float that, but with the player behind me, I think that makes it a little bit dicier. Table 2, opening jacks from the button. Table 3, facing a 2.5x button up, and I'll 3-bet my big blind with ace-king. Table one, or two rather, have a 3x open under the gun. I got pocket sixes. I'm going to go ahead and put in a 3-bet here and try to take this pot away right away. A little bit loose, but I like to err on the side of being a little bit loose. This guy also seems like he might be kind of fishy. The only reason I don't love it is he's been kind of loose passive, which means the raise might be a bit stronger, and therefore the 3-bet is not as likely to get through. But I'm still going to go ahead and do it. I think it's close enough that it's justifiable. Don't love that he's slightly shorter either, but these are pretty minor factors. He calls, we get an ace, ace, 9, two-tone board. I'm going to go ahead and put in the small bet here with my sixes. Table 3, opening ace 10 suited from the cutoff. Both blinds come along, get a king 3 deuce two-tone board. I'll just go ahead and check that one back. This guy, because he might be a little fishy, I'm not going to start barreling him here, as I'm really not going to get him to fold off of too much ace-x. I think I'll just go ahead and try to peel a spade or a 6. The spade is pretty damn good for me right there, so I think I can call down here if he bluffs. Probably just show it down against the check. Yeah, against ace-king. I think I navigated that post-flop reasonably well. Table 1, opening ace-10 for middle position. Table 3 here, the flop check through and turn checks to me on that jack. I now have a gut shot to Broadway, so I'm going to go ahead and start betting my gut shot equity. Stab for half pot there. Plan to follow through on the river against the double check. Or against a check, check, call, check line from the other players. Table 1, get called in position, out of position, get a queen 10-5 monotone board. I'll check my ace 10 on that board. Probably checking range out of position in a single raise pot. He goes ahead and stabs for half pot, so I'm going to go ahead and call. Continue checking. Now, river is a deuce. I brick out. I need to fold out. I think I want to go ahead and use the overbet line here. Quickly folds that one. He may have had auto folds anyway, but he continues stabbing, and I'm going to go ahead and call against that small half pot. Queen is a pretty good river in that it makes it harder for him to have the queen. And my middle pair shows down good after calling a couple of small bets. He had 5-9 of clubs for the flop third pair. I think it's about time to wrap this session up here, so I'm going to start shutting these tables down. I'll let this one sneak another orbit in because it looks so friendly. Yeah, we'll let this one go around one more time too. Recreational player on 20 blinds, real loose passive type, open, limps the button. I've got ace-king. I'll be raising or re-raising here. We face an ISO. Against the fold, just go ahead and ISO to about 5 blinds. He comes along and calls, getting ace 10 deuce Rainbow board. I think I'm just going to go ahead and check to trap here, given that he's only got a little more than pot left. He checks back. Get a king turn. I'm going to go ahead and stab half pot now here. Don't want to let him peel gut shots for free. Table 2, going to open king 10 from under the gun. Sneak in one more orbit over here, too, because this table looks so good. Jesus Christ, it's basically all recreational players. Big blind rec type player comes along, sitting about 65 blinds deep. I flop good. Top pair second kicker on 10-5-4 rainbow. I'll go ahead and stab for half pot there on that low board. Comes along for a call. Turn is the 5. I'll go ahead and check that one back. Would have looked to barrel some turn cards. The 5 is not ideal. I don't love that he's leading into me for pot on it either, but I'm of course not folding, at least not yet. River Ace is not an ideal card either, but I'm content to check this one down. He's got 8-9. That's why you don't just fold just because they donk into you on a card that's not necessarily the greatest for you. He goes ahead and bombs the river. He might actually get me to fold that just because I don't believe fish are bombing the river weak. But then again, they don't find those over bet bluffs, so that's why it's okay to fold with some of the big bets from the Rex. Table 3, opening queen 9 from the button. Get 3-bet by the big blind. It's going to be an easy fold, especially with that big size. Little over 5x from 2.5 to 13. Kick 3 suited in the middle position with a dead small blind. That's a little loose, but we've got a very weak player in there on the button, so I'm going to go ahead and open it. Table 3, opening pocket 8s from the cutoff. Flop a flush draw on 9-9-6 two-tone against the big blind. He checks to me. I'll go ahead and put in a small bet on that paired board. He comes along for the call. Turn is a 5. I'm going to go ahead and continue betting. Or like this, I would still be betting my overpairs pretty much. Maybe even 7s and 8s. Certainly 10s are better. Since I'm going to be betting so wide for value, I'm going to use a smaller half pot size. I'm not going to overbet on this particular texture with that paired flop. He calls. River is the 7, puts a 4 straight out there and closes my flush. On these 4 straight or 4 flush boards, I like just mashing the pot button, whether it's bluffs or value. I'll go ahead and mash pot, hoping he has a hand like 9-8, 7-8, pocket 8s. Whatever it is, he had something good enough to calm me down and pay me off. He had pocket 8s, yeah. Very reasonable holding to have in that line. Very reasonable holding to get paid against as well. Opening pocket 5s on table 1, last hand from what's effectively middle position with the dead button. Take that one down, and that's all she wrote. Half stack opens 3x, another half stack calls. I've got ace-6 suited. Just gonna go ahead and fold that. A little too weak to squeeze even against full size stacks, but those 50 blind stacks make it even dicier. So you're gonna have to raise and fold to jams with a lot of hands. So you have to really construct your range very differently because of the lower stack depth. You have to treat that 3-bet almost like a cold 4-bet and have hands that want to call off against the jam and hands that just plan to fold against the jam. And because I'm either calling or folding against 4-bets with calling all-ins or folding against all-ins with no ability to call a small 4-bet at those stack sizes, going to be a lot more careful about which hands I 3-bet so I don't 3-bet too many. 3x, just over 3x open from this weird 40-ish blind stack under the gun. I am going to 3-bet him with king, queen suited. He comes along for a call. Great flop for me. King 6-4 two-tone. Going to go ahead and put in a small bet here. He comes along for the call. Turn is an ace. About the worst possible card I could see, so I'm just going to go ahead and check that one back. Not a great river either. A flush closing river 7. However, he's so fishy, I think I just have to give him a chance to do something stupid. I don't know that I should actually try to get value here, as that's a very lousy run out. I was looking for a cleaner run out to put him in on the turn, but as played, I'm just going to check it down. Pocket threes, you know. Not that worried about losing when he checks again on the river, but don't think I can really get value. 8-10 out of the gun, I'm not going to be playing, so I'm going to shut the table down. That's the end of the session for now, the end of the video. Till next time, this is Charlie Murphy signing off, and thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate you. Have a nice one.